What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here. So I'm going to try not to be a broken record, but if I'm being honest, a lot of the issues, if you just go watch my review of the match against Fulham, a lot of the issues are practically the same. And it's funny because, there were a lot of changes that were made to this lineup compared to the Fulham lineup, but the one thing that stayed the same in both of them is Potter's still an idiot. So, just, I'm going to try to avoid going really hard in on the Potter hate today, but it's still the same. It's still the same tactics. It's still the same lack of energy. And don't get me wrong, I get that, well, that's the players not giving the energy. Well, yeah, but who's supposed to get them motivated? Who's supposed to be the one that says, all right, you're not playing well. You're not giving me what I need. You're not giving me the energy I need. Let's get you off and let's get somebody on who can. Who's the one that keeps putting Havertz in as a striker even though he's not a striker? Who's the one that keeps playing Cucurella even though Hall is 10 times better than he is? Chilwell, even though he's not at 100% right now, 50 times better than he is. Who's the person that keeps doing that? It's Potter. It's Potter. And you could say all you want, oh no, it's just, you gotta get time for the team to gel. You look at the tactics today, it's the exact same thing that we've been seeing. A lot of energy to start off, and then slowly fade back into that typical, all right, let's knock it around the back. I mean, my God, I wanted to hop on a plane over to London and strangle Reece James when we are 1-1, tied against West Ham. And we've got a minute and a half left. Ball goes out to James. Touch. Touch. Touch backwards. I'm sorry. Are we happy with a draw? Are we happy with 1 point? And I don't see Potter getting into his ear like, hey, let's go. Come on. I don't see any of that. I see him just sitting on the sideline, same as always. Just, no, well, nothing we can do, guys. It was a good try. He looks like the manager version of melatonin. I think I've said that before, but he just looks like he doesn't do anything to get the players hyped up and ready to play. It looks like he just sort of goes in, all right, guys, let's go. And the players are like, So, yeah, I'll talk about the players in a second. But just know that a lot of the issue right now is still Potter. And you could argue with me all you want. You could tell me I'm wrong. It's been Potter. He's come in. He was supposed to change things up from the issues that we had with Tuchel, and he came in and he did the exact same thing Tuchel did. He's doing everything that everything I hated about Tuchel. Potter's doing the exact same thing. So we didn't make any changes. We didn't change anything with the new manager. We brought in a guy who's making the problems even worse because he's doing everything that Tuchel was doing wrong. And I don't get why nobody's pointing that out. Nobody's trying to say, hey, let's get him out of here. Let's get in a manager who's actually going to make some good changes and do things differently in a way that'll help us, not do everything the freaking same. Sorry. I'll move on from Potter now. The referees today were pretty bad as well. Obviously, again, not going to blame them for the loss, not going to blame them for us, or not loss, but I mean, honestly, it feels like a loss because we shouldn't be drawing against West Ham. But yeah, not going to blame them for our bad play. However, again, when you're not playing well and then the referees are also kind of giving some handouts to the other team, it does sort of feel like you want to say, what the hell? Because, all around today, and Craig Pawson, he's not the worst ref in the Premier League anymore since David Coote and I think Peter Banks is the other one. Since those two came into the league, they have taken that title as the worst referees. But for a while, it was Pawson, and he's showed today why he held that title for so long. Because, my God, it was so bad. You got whoever went off injured for West Ham. You got him essentially. Madueke gets in front of him, and that causes him to fall. I don't know if he dove. I don't know if he just sort of like pulled up, not trying to run into him, and that caused him to fall. Whatever the case, Madueke didn't hardly touch him. And somehow it's a foul. Don't understand how. And then later on, you got Mudrik's going to get the ball. Defender comes up, 2-hand shove in the back, no call. Obviously, the handball is going to be the one that everybody's talking about. And yeah, it was a great save. Too bad it wasn't the goalkeeper that made it. But VAR, no, hardly checked it at all. For whatever reason, and I don't know who the VAR was today, I couldn't find that information. Whoever it was really, really, really wanted Rice to be onside for the goal that was disallowed. Because you see, in the first half, Felix and Havertz, they were both offside for their goals, that the AR called correctly. It is funny, he calls those correctly, but then the Rice one completely misses. But they hardly checked those two in the first half. It was like glance, all right, yeah, we're good, and move on. And Havertz honestly was decently close. Like, he was offside for sure, but it was close. It was probably like this part of his arm was offside. Rice, just from looking at it, you can see he's well off. Like, he's at least a yard offside, if not more. VAR took like 2 minutes. Well, we got to draw this line. Yeah, that looks off. But, let me try to push that line a little bit more. Yeah, he's still offside. Let me do it one more time. Just like, are you hoping? Are you hoping that maybe if you draw the line one more time, maybe somehow the world will glitch and he'll move backwards? Like, what? Why did that take so long? And then again, the handball, hardly even looked at it. So I don't know what was going on. Again, it sometimes feels like the referees would prefer that Chelsea don't get the win, the way that they call some of the matches. But yeah, that in particular, just between the hardly looking at the offsides or the handball for us, but then meticulously checking to be like, okay, is he definitely offside? Is there any way that I can possibly draw these lines to where he can be onside? Even though you don't even need lines to see he's offside. Oh, man. So, again, not saying they're at fault for our draw today, but it doesn't help. If we're already not playing well, it doesn't help when the referee is just sort of like, oh, you hardly touched him, or you got the ball for Badiashiel's challenge or Havertz's challenge. You got the ball, but they fell over? Well, that's a foul. Anyways, on to individuals. Kepa today, did fine. Had to make a couple really good saves. For the goal, there's not much he can do. That's just bad defending, not tracking the runner on the far side. And even, for the second one that was disallowed, he makes a great first save. And it's just, again, nobody's tracking the runner coming in for the second follow-up. So, yeah, he did fine. He's been doing okay recently. He's not been saving us. He's not been making those world-class, holy crap, I can't believe he saved that saves. But he's been doing his job, and that's something that he hadn't been doing before. So I'm at least happy with that. I still think we need to go get a better keeper than him or Mendy that will keep us in games like De Gea does or Ederson does. The saves that you're not expected to make. I want a keeper at Chelsea that's going to be making those. But if he's at least making the saves he should be making, I'm perfectly fine with that. James on the right side. I already talked about his 4 touches at the end of the game. Whenever we need to get down the field, we need to get a goal to go win it. And there's no urgency in his play. And that was honestly the entirety of his game today. It was just a lack of urgency. It felt like he was just sort of strolling along. And what's funny is you watch Lauren James, and she plays the same way. However, the women's game is so slow that she can play that way. She can play a little bit slower, a little bit more calm, and kind of looks a little lazy, but she's so fast, when she gets into gear, that most of the women at that level, they can't keep up with her. James, he's playing at a level where everybody can keep up with him. So you can't be lazy. You can't be turned off and then suddenly try to turn on and thinking, okay, yeah, I can get past this guy. Because most players are going to be able to keep up with that. They're going to read that. And especially if you keep doing it, they're going to start noticing, oh, okay, so I just have to wait. He's going to wait for me to step in and then he's going to try to go. Well, if I just put myself in his way, I'm going to win the ball. Like, it's very easy to read whenever you play the same way all the time. And it just feels like if he's not on the ball, he's not on. He's just waiting for the game to come to him. And then once it gets to him, oh, well, now he's ready to go. But by then, it's almost always too late. He's got pressure on him, or defensively, what happened on the goal, he's not aware of what's coming on the backside, and it's too late to read it. There's one moment that nearly happened in the second half where, again, same thing. He doesn't see that guy. He's not turned on. Then suddenly they're breaking down the field, and he's already 10 steps behind the guy he should be tracking because he wasn't ready for it. He wasn't turned on. And it's just not good enough. And I've had this problem with him before. He typically had that sort of, I'm not really on, but now I'm ready to go. But the difference was he was always so good at finding that quick turn of pace that it felt like, okay, well, I can put up with the moments when he's maybe being a little bit lazy because what he's doing whenever he is on is so good. Honestly, it's the Hazard thing. Hazard almost never defended, almost never did anything to help us on the other side of the ball. But what he did when he was on the ball was so good that you kind of put up with it. You kind of said, okay, I can be okay with him not really helping us defensively because he is absolutely tearing it up in the final third. James kind of felt that way for a little while. Defensively, a little lazy at times, not always tracking runners, sometimes getting caught out of position. It happened, but he's doing so much when he's on the ball that I'm okay with it. Or he's at least defending for most of the game, so those few moments where he doesn't, it's like, okay, it'll happen occasionally, but not always. Now it just feels like that's kind of what his game is. He's always getting caught sleeping. He's always getting caught runner getting in behind him. He's not turned on. He's not aware of what's behind him. And then on the ball, he's doing jack jack shit. I mean, nothing. I can't think of anything positive he did for us today. He gets on the ball. He's not taking on runners. He's not trying to put in crosses. He's just there, and then it's backwards. Or he tries to lay it off somebody else, and then he doesn't try to help out. He doesn't drop off and give him nothing from him today. So I don't know if, again, is this a symptom of Potter's managing where everybody's just sort of playing at half energy right now? Or is this something where James is not come back fully fit, or he's not come back fully motivated from his injury, and he's just not 100%? I don't know. It's hard to tell when you're not there all the time. But something's up with him, and it hurt us today because we needed him to be effective. And not only did he cost us a goal by not tracking the run on the backside, he also didn't give us anything going forward either. So why is he out there? Spilicueta, he may not be the most effective on the ball, but I tell you what, he works his butt off 100% of the time all game. And I'm tired of players who do that for us getting constantly shit on by the managers benching him, by the fans who are just like, I'm happy he's benched. I'd much rather take an Aspilicueta out there, a Werner out there, a Mount out there, than some of these players that have much more quality, much more finishing ability, but they don't work their butts off. They just sort of turn off and let the game happen around them until, now it's my time. It's too late. We're already down a goal, and now you're surrounded by several players because they've packed it back in. So, yeah, very frustrated with James. Silva, Betty a shield today. Again, perfectly fine. Nothing too wrong with their play. Betty Shield did have a couple scary moments here and there, but for the most part, I thought he held his own. And then Silva, as always, is just typical defensive stability back there. On the ball, I would like them to be a little bit quicker, because there is that feeling of, they are very calm and collected on the ball, but sometimes that also means that they are playing very slowly because they're taking their time. So I would like it to maybe move a bit quicker back there, but defensively is their main job, and they did that very well today. Cucurella, like I said before, I don't know why he's starting whenever Hall is a better option than he is. So even if Chilwell's not 100% right now, Hall should still be starting over Cucurella. It was proven multiple times before the World Cup and then after we came back, I'm pretty sure. Hall starting looks much better. And yet Cucurella, it started the last two matches. And both matches, the best opportunities for the other team came down that left side. Came down the side of, Cucurella's over there, let's just double team him. Typically he doesn't get much help from his wing, so that is something that the wing, whoever it is, whether it's Mudryk, whether it's, can't remember who played second half against Fulham, but whoever's down that side needs to realize, hey, Cucurella, he's not that good. You got to get back and help him. But despite that, knowing he's not that good, why is he playing? Why is he playing out there if he can't handle it? And Cross today, sure, Mudryk maybe should be stepping back in. At the same time, Cucurella, why are you just standing there? You're not marking anybody. It's not like he stepped back in to cover this guy. He just stepped back in, and he was there. And I'm thinking, what are you doing? You're not covering anything right now. You may not think that that's your man, but what you're doing is still nothing. So if you don't have anybody to mark, go ahead and go. And it's funny because most of the time he has no problem stepping out to close down a pass or a cross. Most of the time he does it way too much, and he'll do it to the point where now he's caught out of position. But for whatever reason, this one that leads to the goal, he's just like, Mudryk will get him, right? He's closer than I am. but he's also the wrong side of the ball. So go. Put pressure on him. Make sure he can't have an easy cross. And, oh, no, you didn't, and now it's a goal. Oy vey. So, I don't know what dirt he has on Potter to convince Potter to let him play in the first team, but yeah, he's not even championship quality, honestly. The more I watch him play, the more I'm just like, God, watching Emerson score today, I'm like, that used to be our backup. He can score. He does something. He's more of a wingback, sure, but still, it's a better option than Cucurella. Into the midfield, you had Enzo Fernandez and Ruben Loftus-Cheek. Loftus-Cheek today looked out of his depth, and part of that could be returning from injury, first game back. We need a better option in there. Kovacic and Conte, I guess, are both still out injured. I don't know how much longer they will be, but until they come back in, we need a better option. So whether that's Chalobah, whether that's sliding James in there, hopefully if he's playing better than he does today. Mount, I think, is a better option. But for whatever reason, Potter's like, all right, Loftus-Cheek. And now let's sub in Gallagher, who's absolutely terrible defensively. But sure, he'll get the job done. So we had two options in there today that neither of them looked like they could handle the pace of the break from West Ham. On the ball, though, Loftus-Cheek, for me, needs to get better. And I've said this before, his decision-making when he gets in the final third is probably his biggest weakness at the moment. Because there are so many moments where it looks like he's got some time and space, he's breaking down the field, and then he just, terrible pass, he gives the ball away. Fernandez, though, looks solid. He looks, again, much better than Jorginho did. So he's looking a good pickup there, but we need to find a midfield partner for him that's going to help him out a bit more, that's going to give him an option so he's not having to deal with all this pressure without having an outlet to go to. Because those, I feel like, are the moments when he does give the ball away. So, on to the wings, Madueke and, if that's how you say it, I don't even know, Mudryk on the other side. Both of them looked okay. Mudryk definitely looked better than he did against Fulham, so I guess he was over whatever was affecting him last weekend. He looked a lot more energetic. He was taking players on. Still would like to see a little bit more effectiveness from him in the final third, because that's, against Liverpool, same thing. Very effective until he got into the final third, and then his shots were off target. But that was kind of his game again today. Very effective, and then he gets in the final third, he gets in the box, and he's not really giving us what we need. He had one great pass to Havertz, which of course Havertz was offside because it's Havertz. But outside of that, he really didn't give us much when he got into that final third. So we need a bit more creativity and a bit more finishing quality from him. Madueke, I don't know why we signed him, because he's essentially Ziyech. He's left-footed player on the right side of the field. He'll cut in, he'll have a cross or have a shot on his left foot, and then in the second half he fades. And that's essentially what Ziyech does too. So it just feels like he's Ziyech light at the moment, because his touch is not quite as good as Ziyech's is. But he was okay. Nothing spectacular. He had one good chance, but outside of that, he was just sort of out there. Not really giving us what we need. We needed an improvement on Ziyech, and instead we got Ziyech again. So, a little disappointing there. Felix, for me, probably man of the match outside of even the goal. Just looks the most dangerous player that we have at the moment. Looks the most willing to make little runs in and out. Honestly, I would start him as striker instead of Havertz. It's kind of how I felt about, when you looked at Havertz and Werner. Werner, even though he wasn't your typical striker, he made good striker runs that would open up space for Havertz to come in behind him and get into space. But when Havertz is a striker and Werner was playing more on the left side, it was like Werner's runs weren't helping Havertz at all. So Havertz is just standing as he does in no space because he's got all the defenders on him. So I feel like maybe, and I know Potter's not going to do this because he's stupid, but I would like to see what would it look like with Felix making those runs as a striker. Havertz maybe dropped a bit deeper and then making runs into the space that Felix is opening up for him instead of having Havertz just stand up top like he always does as striker and then Felix making the runs deeper, which is not opening up space for anybody really. I don't know. It just something I'd be interested to see if that could work. So hopefully we get a manager in that can actually see that Havertz is not a striker and try to make those changes. But yeah, Felix, like I said, very dangerous player, looks effective. Obviously, got himself a goal, scored two, despite the one being offside. So I would love to see more of him, and again, I'd like to see what he can do if he were maybe playing a bit more forward and a bit more, I guess, dangerous for the defenders instead of dangerous for the defensive mids. And then Havertz, I obviously have already bashed him a bit, but yeah, he's not a striker, and until they stop playing him as a striker, I feel like we're going to have these games where we have all this creativity, we have all of this great forward attacking play, and then we don't do anything with it because once we get down into the final third, we have no movement. We have nothing from our striker because he is the typical, I'm going to stand here and I'm going to wait for you to play a ball to me. And defenders are like, thank you for that. We appreciate your inability to make a run that will trouble us. Because honestly, he's not like he can't make runs. He does make runs. If we are breaking down the field, you'll see he makes good runs, even though most of the time he makes them too early and he's offside. He will make those runs. The problem is, a lot of our possession comes from we have the ball in the final third, everybody's packed in, and we're knocking it around. We're trying to find somebody to make a run for us that will break through that back line. Havertz in those moments becomes a cone. And we need something else from him. We need him to get out of there, open up space for somebody to make a run in behind you, or breaking run in behind, maybe towards a corner. But he's just standing in the middle like, hey, give me the ball. And the defenders are like, yeah, give him the ball because we're going to beat him in the air. Like, it's simple stuff. And I don't understand why it's not changing except for the fact that we have an idiot manager who doesn't see this and doesn't try to change it. So I don't think Havertz is a bad player. I don't hate him as a player. However, I hate him being utilized as a striker because he's not a striker. And it shows time and time again. And I'm sick of seeing it. So whether it's Fofana that needs to go in, whether it's Felix that needs to go in, we need a change there. Like if you want to see us start to score more goals, that's where we need to change. We need to get Havertz out of that starting striker role. Then we'll start to see some actual progress as far as our attacking play is concerned. But until then, we're stuck with this guy who, despite playing there multiple times, has not grown at all as a striker and is still just the same old running offside, stagnant when we're on the attack, just nothing from him. As far as the subs that came on, first three subs, Chilwell on for Cucurella, don't mind that at all because Cucurella is off the field now. Mount and Ziyech come on for Mudryk and Madueke. And like I said, Mount right now, I said this in the Fulham game, and so when I saw Mount come on for Mudryk, I'm thinking, okay, so Gallagher now is going to come on for Loftus-Cheek. They need to be switched. Those two need to switch positions. Mount right now in the final third, not good enough. Defensively, he looks okay. Off the ball, he looks okay. So let's play him deeper where he can win the ball. Simple stuff. He'll make good runs for the defenders too, which will open up space for them. Get in space so that way they have an option. Gallagher doesn't do any of that. Gallagher, defensively, not strong enough. He doesn't read the play well enough. And again, he's not good about popping out and giving an option for the defense whenever we're knocking it around back there, trying to break out of the high press. So get him up the field where he looks a little bit more creative than Mal. He does have good shots on him. He looks like he can be more effective in the final third. Why is that? If I can see this, if I can see the problem, why can't Potter? I feel like it should be obvious, unless the players are like, no, I'm not playing there. In which case, well, okay, go sit Go play for the youth team then, because we need players who are willing to do what's best for the team. And what's best for the team is not Mount in the front and not Gallagher in defense. And yet that's where they are, and it's hurting us. So, yeah, I don't get it. But Ziyech came on, and I don't know if there's any truth to the fact, all the stuff about the transfer to PSG, if he's actually upset with the club and how everything was handled. I don't know how much truth there is. It certainly seems like there is in the way he plays, because he plays so nonchalant and just kind of like he's not really happy being out there. So if that's the case, then why are you playing him? Similar to the Mudryk question I had, if he's sick, why are you playing him? Well, if Ziyech's not happy, why are you playing him? Because it really hurts us. We do not look good whenever he's out there just sort of casually on the ball, like whatever, and then a player comes up and easily strips him of it, and then he gives away a foul that nearly gives away a goal. Like it's not what we need. So why is he playing? Oh, well, we don't have any options. I'm sorry. Have you heard the name Carney Chukwuemeka? Because he had several great games for us where he was super energetic and trying to make things happen, and he's not played since those few games. So, what are you missing here, Potter? Hello, is anyone on upstairs? Because it certainly doesn't seem like it. And then the final sub, Gallagher, I already talked about it with Mount, but yeah, just he's not being utilized in his strengths whenever he's playing deeper. Similar as, Mount is not utilizing his strengths at the moment when he's being played more forward. So, yeah, those two for me, I feel like are the product of a manager who doesn't understand what players need. What players are best in which positions. That's why we continue to see Cucurella, and that's why we continue to see Havertz as a striker. He just doesn't really get that. Which you would think a manager at the Premier League level would understand what players need and what players play best in which positions. But, hey, it's I'm assuming it's all part of the plan from Bowley. He came in probably like a Man U fan or an Arsenal fan. He's like, all right, I'm just going to come in, I'm going to spend all this money, waste all this money for Chelsea, and make sure we keep a manager in that's going to drop him down to the bottom of the table. I honestly, I don't even think it's Bowley like trying to hurt us. I think it's honestly just he doesn't understand that, yes, you do need a little bit more consistency with the manager. You do want to give him time to grow and time to build a team. I just don't think he realizes that Potter is not a good manager. And I don't understand how I can't understand that, because you look at how Brighton are playing without Potter at the moment, and it looks like he was holding them back because they look fantastic right now. Whereas Potter's come here, and it just looks like he's well out of its depth. He doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't understand anything about these players. And it's just every game, it's the same. We're not seeing any changes outside of personnel. It's the same issues we've been having for years. You start the game well, you're positive, you're creating chances, you maybe score one, then you don't put the rest of the chances away, it stays 1-0, and then you give up the one goal, and suddenly now you're barely holding on for a draw. I don't know how many times it has to happen before somebody finally says, you know what, maybe we need to bring in a manager who's going to change that, who's going to fix that mentality issue, who's going to make sure that we're focused throughout the whole 90 minutes and not just for the first 30. Because I'm tired of seeing that. I'm tired of seeing us drop off after 30 minutes. It happens every single game under Potter. It happens several games under Tuchel. So clearly, there's a mentality issue from the players, but it's not up to the players to motivate themselves. Like, yes, you would hope that they could be motivated, but the manager has to come in and make some changes. He has to do something that gets the players motivated. And clearly, Potter is not. So, yeah, it's very rough at the moment. I know what needs to be fixed. I'm sitting here, I'm not even saying that I'm a super genius or anything, but I feel like most people with some intelligence, because obviously, looking online at some of the people on there, the clear lack of intelligence is there. But anybody with a decent amount of intelligence and football intelligence can look at this club and look at the play, and if you watch every match, you can look and see, okay, so clearly there's an issue here. And it stems from We have players that aren't getting motivated, that aren't focused for the full 90. We need a manager who's going to come in and fix that, not Potter. Potter came in and, again, he made the problems worse. He came in and everything that Tuchel's dealing with, he said, all right, let's make that the priority. Let's make sure everything that Tuchel is doing, we're going to be doing that even more. And it's just showing every match. It's the same. Even with James back in the team, you would think, okay, well, James, when he was in for Potter, we went on a bit of a winning run. We looked better. We looked okay with him. But even with James back in the team, we looked just the same. So, yeah, until either Potter can find a way to get players motivated, or finds tactics that work for the team, or finds personnel that fits into roles better than what he's trying at the moment, until he can make those changes, or until we get a manager that will come in and actually do those things, it's going to be the same. We're going to be struggling every match. We're going to barely be getting wins. We're going to barely be getting draws. In the most of the games against the top half of the table, we're going to end up losing. And that's where we are. So, yeah. I mean, I know the board has said, well, we're sticking behind Potter. We're gonna stick with him. We're gonna let him build something. I know they've said that, but I really hope that at some point they will look at this and say, all right, well, we've given him a chance. We've brought in all these players for him to improve the team, and things are still the same. So maybe he is part of the problem, and we need to get rid of him before things get even worse. Because honestly, I would hate to see some of these players that do look positive, dangerous, all this. I would hate for them to kind of fall into the same problem that we've seen with a lot of Chelsea players that have come through the club, where it's like they do look positive, they do look dangerous, and then suddenly it's whatever the mentality is, it just sort of falls into that. All right, well, let's just walk out, let's jog out, let's not break with any pace, let's just play all nice and comfortable, and then teams are like, well, okay, well, we're just going to run all over you. So anyways, I know I went on a bit of a rant there. I apologize. I just got a lot of emotions that I needed to get off my chest, and that's kind of what these reviews are for. So, but yeah, that's it for me. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on the match? Do you agree on Potter? And if not, then get off my channel, because I'm going to be saying it every game. Yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.